Hello. Welcome to examining fictional heroes and the authors behind them. My name is Wayne Browder. Excuse me, I'm still struggling. I hope you guys enjoyed the change of scenery. Weather's starting to get nicer. We were actually frozen in for several days down here. So I thought it would be nice to get out. And since I don't have a lot of reading to do from several books for this installment, I thought it would be nice to be out somewhere. This is going to be part 2 of the Survival Stories series. And for this episode, I'm going to remain in the far north. We started out last week with the gray. Today, we're going to cover the Edge. If you haven't seen it, The Edge stars Anthony Hopkins as Charles Morse, who is a billionaire. Alec Baldwin, who is a photographer who has a thing for Charles's wife, who is a supermodel. Harold Perinau, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was on Lost. Have you ever seen that show? On The Matrix also, I believe. L.Q. Jones. I mentioned him when I did a piece on the Jack Bull a few weeks ago. I always liked him. I don't know why. He just always seemed like a likable character, even when he played a bad guy. Gordon Tatousis is also credited with being in this movie, even though all we had of him was a photograph and him standing on the dock there at the end of the movie. He played one stab on Legends of the Fall, and they used to sing Bear from Legends of the Fall. So, let's get into it. At the beginning of the movie, Charles has taken a trip to Alaska with the crew who are shooting a magazine spread with Charles's wife as the model. The male model that Alec Baldwin's character had planned on using, I can't remember his name from the movie right now. Sorry about that. The male model he wanted to use originally got sick. He decided he wanted to find the guy in the photograph he saw in the lodge, which he thought was taken a long time ago because it was in black and white and, just the look of the man. He thought it was something much older. It turns out it was a friend of L.Q. Jones, and he had taken the picture himself a year before. So, they take an impromptu journey farther north in order to find this man. They go to the lake that he is supposed to be at, where they find a note on the door that says he has moved on, about 20 miles upriver. So they fly farther, and the plane encounters a bird strike. The pilot dies, the plane goes down in a lake leaving Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin, and Harold Perinau as the only survivors of the crash. So they're cold. They just came out of a lake in the far north. Excuse me. Wet, obviously. They try to build a fire. The waterproof matches are not working. Alec Baldwin decides to use a flare in order to get the fire started, against Anthony Hopkins' wishes. And the guys kind of fall to rancor, trying to figure out what they're going to do. So Charles takes charge. He tells them what they need to do because he has read a lot. He's a very learned man, except he says at one point in the movie that it's all academic. He's never actually used any of it. Well, now he is in the situation where he has to use it. And so he is using knowledge that he has read prior to this in order to build a compass, in order to determine which way they need to travel, in order to get back to their last known location, 20 miles downriver. As they travel, they come across a grizzly. And L.Q. Jones had warned them about grizzlies while they were in the lodge. And he also mentioned that once they taste human flesh, that is all they want. This bear had obviously done that because it began to stalk those men. They have a narrow escape at one point crossing the river. And then they find out they had traveled in a large circle, as lost people often do. So they begin arguing again. Harold Perinau cuts himself accidentally trying to make a spear for fishing. The scent of the blood lures the bear in, and he is killed by the bear. The other two guys try to stop it, but they can't. So now they're trying to find their way out, the two of them, Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin, while the bear is stalking them. And Alec Baldwin has already been called out by Anthony Hopkins, who knows he plans to kill him for his wife and his money. And so these two are thrown into a survival situation together. Eventually, they come across an old trapper cabin. They find a canoe, and Alec Baldwin goes down to see if the canoe floats. Anthony Hopkins finds a pot, some tea, and he decides to make tea for them. When they come back inside, Alec Baldwin has found a rifle and is loading it, and he's drinking whiskey, trying to build up the courage. to kill Anthony Hopkins. He takes him outside, and Anthony Hopkins lures him into falling into a deadfall, which is a pit to trap bears. You fall in, there's spikes sticking up from the ground. So his leg is broken and punctured by one of those. Still, Anthony Hopkins gets him out of there, takes him back to the cabin, and tries to mend his leg. Furthermore, he continues to take him downriver in the canoe, even though he had tried to kill him. Eventually, Alec Baldwin dies just before they are rescued by a helicopter. When Anthony Hopkins comes back to the lodge, all the L.Q. Jones, Gordon, Tatoothis is there. All the people who were part of the production are there, and all kinds of reporters are there because we've had a billionaire lost in the woods, so this is news. He stops and speaks to L.Q. Jones before he proceeds up to the lodge where the reporters are, about something they had discussed earlier in the movie, about why the rabbit was unafraid when the panther hunted it. He stopped and he looked at L.Q. Jones and he said, "Why is the rabbit unafraid?" To which L.Q. Jones responds, "Because he's smarter than the panther." So he walks up to the lodge and he hugs his wife and he puts something in her hand. It turns out to be the watch that she had given Alec Baldwin with an inscription that said, "Thank you for all the nights." He didn't say anything to her. He just gave her the watch. And he turned to the reporters and he said this is the only thing I wrote down because I wanted to make sure I got this right. What Charles Morse says to the reporters: "We are all put to the test, but it never comes in the form or at the point we would prefer, does it?" And that is the truth. We are tested in many ways. We probably face small tests daily. It's important that we pass these tests. I believe I said before in an early installment, you become strong by practicing strength. You become brave by practicing courage. Every small test builds your character so that you can face the larger tests that you will face. Now, we all stumble. There is no escaping that. It is given to no man to lead a perfect life. The only person who ever did that was Jesus Christ. We are going to stumble. We are going to fall. We are going to fail. That is inevitable. But that's like many fighters will tell you. I can teach you how to throw a punch. I can teach you how to throw a kick, how to do this or that. I cannot teach you how to get up when you've been knocked down. That comes from you. So, we're all put to the test. It's going to happen. Prepare yourself for it as best you can. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I appreciate every one of you that takes the time to listen to these and to like and comment and everything else. I truly do. I hope I am performing a service in doing these. Now, I'm going to relax a little bit. Have a good day.